Hey, it's your girl LMJ here today with today's Sunday inspiration. And we're going to talk about you can't pour from an empty cup. And this is just tremendously personal to me because I give so selflessly. And I know I'm not the only one out there. We give and we give and we give and we give and we give. And sometimes we give and there's absolutely nothing else left inside for us to give. And for those of us that live like that, that's really not a good or a healthy place to be in. And so, like, I was thinking about it this morning, this cup represents me, right? Well, if I'm empty, I can't pour into the things that I need to pour into. If this cup represents my kids, like, I always have to be able to give and pour in my kids. Well, if my cup is empty, then I can't give the things that I need to give to my kids, right? This cup represents my ministry, my nonprofit, my businesses. If my cup is empty, then I can't pour what I need to into it. And so you say, how do we get empty cups? We get empty cups when there is nothing being poured back into us, or when we're not allowing ourselves the opportunity and chances to self-care. And for those of us that are servers and we give and we believe in our vision and we believe in our dreams, and we believe in everything that we're doing, we'll give 1,000 to it. We'll give 1,000 to it. And we're giving this 1,000 to it. And we're forgetting about us. You can't have the passion. You can't have, and then you can't have the love. You can't have the things you need to keep pouring into something. Look, my cup is empty. I can't give to what I need to give to if I'm not properly self-caring, if I'm not self-loving, and if I'm not getting my bank filled up so that I can be able to give into the people around me. So you can't pour for an empty cup. I felt that way this weekend. This weekend I felt really depleted. I was trying to pour out of an empty cup and I had absolutely nothing else left into me. So we know that there's always a solution for everything. So how do we get ourselves in the position after we've poured out selflessly, after we've given, after we're on this committee, after we're everywhere else? One, some of the stuff you may have to minimize what you're doing. You may not need to be tied to absolutely everything. And this is so important for the entrepreneur, so important for the mom, just so important for everybody. You may need to scale back on what you're doing. But you're also going to have a self-care plan. Like today, I developed a self-care plan for LaKisha. And what that looks like for LaKisha is daily, I have to take an hour for myself. My day typically starts at 3:30 in the morning. And so I've got to pull back and take an hour for myself at some time. You know, it's almost like a lunch break. You know, if you work a 9-hour shift, they give you a 30 or an hour lunch, right? It's almost like taking a lunch break. The point of the lunch break was so that you could fuel back up so that you could finish the rest of the day, right? So I have to take an hour to myself. Another part of my self-care plan is I have to work out daily. Another part of my self-care plan is I have to eat. And I know that sounds horrible, but sometimes I get so focused or I'm so overwhelmed by something, like I'm carrying something in my heart, that I won't eat. I realized this morning, yesterday, I only had a banana. That was it. Well, that's not cool if I'm going to be caring for myself. If I'm going to be able to pour into the things that I need to be poured into, I've got to make sure that I have that self-care plan in place for me. Another thing is having a Sabbath, a day of rest, a day in which I do things just for me, a day of which it may just be leisure reading, but some downtime that allows me to regroup. Because what I've also found out, for those of you that are entrepreneurs, when you give yourself that downtime, that space, you can become so much more creative. You can. But if you're pouring for an empty cup, it's almost like driving a car with no oil. Your engine's going to burn up and then you're going to be absolutely no good to anything or anyone around you. So let me show you what that looks like. So anytime I enact my self-care plan, and this is my self-care plan, but this cup also represents the people who pour into my life, the people that give back to me, the things that I do. When I get those things in my life, right? When I'm taking time for myself, when I'm resting properly, when I'm eating properly, when I'm working out, when I self-love and I put those things in myself, then my cup gets filled up, and then I'm able to pour, you see that, into the things that I need to pour into. But if I don't have those things into place, I can't pour into the things that are necessary for me to pour into because it's been given out. So I have to always come back and put the self-care back in place. And I'm telling you, self-care has to be daily. You cannot forget to do self-care daily so that your cup, every time it becomes empty, right, your reserve is pouring back into you. And really what happens is you really never become empty if you're properly being poured into. So you can't pour from an empty cup. And you need to do some self-preservation and some self-care and make yourself important in this thing too. God isn't interested, and that's for me personally because I believe in God. God isn't interested in you pouring yourself out and not being poured back into. So that's Sunday's inspiration for today. You can't pour from an empty cup. Develop your self-care plan for yourself. Find your Sabbath, the day that you're going to take that's just going to be about you. And I know I don't have time. I have kids, I have business, I have ministry, I have all these things. But I'm telling you, I have to operate in self-care if I'm going to be able to give back from such a place, or be able to even give energy to the things that I need to give energy to. Well, that's it for today. Your girl LMJ saying peace and blessings to you. Don't forget to sign up to my YouTube channel so you can get Sunday's inspirations. Hey, join us Monday through Friday on Facebook Live, Coffee and Conversations with LaKisha at 5 a.m. Central Standard Time. And on Saturdays at 8 a.m. we always have a series of very special guests. This Saturday coming up will be with Janie Cotton. She's the CEO of Professional Counseling Associates, and she's going to talk to us about grief and depression during the holidays. It's so essential that you know how to manage your grief and even knowing whether or not you're depressed. I love you guys. Peace and blessings. See you soon.